So good evening, everyone. Is the
Good
screen
evening, ma'am.
visible?
Yes,
Screen
ma'am.
दिख
Yes,
रही है
ma'am.
सभी को? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. So the topic for today is postpartum uterine infection and puerperal metritis to start with. So you all have read about this puerperium by now, right? puerperium पढ़ा है आपने? डॉक्टर आलोक ने क्लास ली थी? Involution and everything?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sometime.
It's going on, ma'am.
Okay, not yet finished.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you people have a basic idea of what puerperium is and how this involution occurs, right? So what happens is when the animal delivers the calf, the cow delivers the calf, after that, normally what happens is the uterus is normally protected from bacterial contamination by the help of this vulva, vestibular sphincter, and cervix. They act as barriers for entry of the bacterial contamination inside the uterus. But during parturition, obviously, when the fetus has to be expelled out, so all these organs, they open up and they act as a continuous channel from the outside environment towards the uterus. So the bacterial contaminants, they gain entry into the uterus. So during and immediately after parturition, these cervix, vulva, this vestibular sphincter, they open up. So these mechanical barriers, they are breached, right? And they contaminate the uterus with pathogenic as well as non-pathogenic organisms, microorganisms. So during this phase, because the animal is already in stress, the immunity is already down. So these bacteria, which are only transient residents of the uterus, they get entry into the uterus, and if there is any problem, if the uterine defense mechanism is not working properly, so they gain entry and they get a chance to grow there, colonize there, and cause the infection. Normally what happens is, say for example, the animal is not pregnant but just estrus animal, so this cervix opens only at the time of estrus. So that time the uterine defense mechanisms are at their best. So even if any of the bacterial contaminants, they gain entry into the uterus, so with the help of this uterine defense mechanism, they get expelled out very easily and very efficiently. But just after the parturition and during parturition as well, so these uterine defense mechanisms are hampered, and thus these bacterial agents, they gain entry as well as they get a chance to proliferate in the uterus and cause the infection. So there are actually three broader terms. One is puerperal period, one is intermediate period, and post-ovulatory period. This is very important to understand the difference between these three periods. These are not very well specified, but yes, you can say in a sense they are specified as well, based on the condition that is going on in the uterus and the associated genital organs. So this puerperal period, it begins at the time of calving and continues until the pituitary glands become sensitive to GnRH. Because normally क्या होता है, at the time of parturition, there is increase in the estrogen level, and obviously with this luteolysis, the progesterone levels of the dam's body, they fall down, and that time the pituitary gland is not sensitive to the GnRH. But as soon as it enters the involution occurs slowly, gradually. The block on the pituitary gland, the negative block on the pituitary gland, it gets removed and it becomes sensitive to GnRH, which is created by hypothalamus. So from day 7 to day 14, almost postpartum, this it is considered as puerperal period. So one is intermediate period, which begins with the increased sensitivity of pituitary towards GnRH and continues until the first postpartum ovulation occurs. Because with this involution, the pituitary gains sensitivity to GnRH and the cyclicity of the ovary, it starts, and till the time, by the time first postpartum ovulation occurs, it is called as intermediate period. And post-ovulatory period, it begins at the time of first ovulation and lasts until involution is complete, and it is almost 45 days postpartum in normal cows. बट ये जो ये पोस्टपार्टम ओव्यूलेशन है, ये कुछ एनिमल्स में जल्दी भी हो जाती है बिफोर दीज 45 डेज और सो, और उस टाइम क्या होता है, बट द हीट इज जनरली साइलेंट, एनिमल वोंट शो एनी काइंड ऑफ heat symptoms. So these are the three terms which should be made clear in mind, because you have to deal with the postpartum period, and then once the animal parturates, and then you should understand then why it is called that it should be given a rest of 40 to 60 days. And in normal cases, in ideal cases, this postpartum period, or you can say this yes, the postpartum period before this cyclicity should not exceed 60 days. If it exceeds 60 days, then this the ideal idea of getting one calf a year is hampered, and it leads to infertility and associated problems. So majorly the infection of the uterus, postpartum infection of the uterus, can be of three types. So differentiating between these three is very necessary to understand. One term is metritis, another is endometritis, and the third term is pyometra. Mostly people confuse between the three and they don't know how to differentiate. So it is important to differentiate between the three. Metritis is actually a result of severe infection or inflammation that involves all the layers of the uterus: external layer, middle layer, and internal layer, which is mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa. Serosa is the outermost layer. So metritis is inflammation of whole of the uterus, while endometritis is characterized by inflammation of endometrium only. It does not exceed beyond the spongiform strata. And the third term is pyometra. It is characterized by accumulation of purulent or pus-like exudate, which may vary in amount within the endometrial cavity. And pyometra has a very characteristic feature that there will be presence of corpus luteum. So this is the characteristic feature of the pyometra, and it suspends the estrous cycle. Obviously, when there is a persistent corpus luteum, there won't be estrous activity. So this is a graph that shows that immediately after parturition, this is day 0 is day of parturition. So up to 20 days, this metritis can occur and persist. It usually occurs in the very initial phase, in the very initial postpartum phase rather. And another term is endometritis, which may occur just after this 12 or 13 days postpartum and may extend up to 60-70 days. And it is characterized by the presence of pus-like discharge. It is very clear, endometritis. But in case of subclinical endometritis, what happens is the discharge apparently appears clear, but there is infection and there is presence of leukocytes in the discharge. So for this diagnosis of subclinical endometritis, it is very important because apparently the animal appears healthy and the uterus appears that as if it doesn't contain any infection, but it is infected. So to diagnose and treat subclinical endometritis is the most important thing, and it is actually diagnosed by doing one very simple test which is called as Whiteside test by using NaOH, sodium hydroxide solution, which I'll be covering later on when we will study about this endometritis and subclinical endometritis. And in some animals there won't be any infection and there won't be any problem, and the endometrium will involute normally. Involution is complete normally, and then the animal enters the cyclicity. So now coming to puerperal metritis. So this puerperal metritis, it occurs within a few days of parturition, after parturition. So generally it is characterized or it follows an abnormal first or second stage of labor, especially after dystocia. And this metritis is, puerperal metritis is generally associated with either uterine inertia. That means the expulsive forces of the uterus, they cease, and then you have to assist the calving by either any kind of manipulation or manual traction. So premature calving also can lead to this metritis, puerperal metritis, or if there is twin births in case of cattle, which is considered as abnormal because these are monococcus species. So twin births can also lead to metritis, and ROP, obviously, it is one of the major reasons. If ROP is there, maximum chances are that the animal will enter or will develop metritis and dystocia. So how this metritis develops or what happens? See, as I told you in the first slide as well, that at the time of parturition and just after parturition, bacteria from the environment, be it pathogenic or non-pathogenic, they gain entry into the uterus, and with this bacterial invasion, obviously there will be conducive environment inside. So these bacteria, they gain entry into the uterus and they get a chance to colonize there. So once this colonization is there, obviously bacterial metabolism will occur, and whatever end products will be produced, they will also there will be production of bacterial toxins, which will be absorbed through the uterine surface only, endometrium only, and it will lead to a condition called pyemia. This pyemia develops, and there is further absorption of the toxins, bacterial toxins, into the uterus, which will ultimately lead to toxemia. And if this toxemia is severe, the animal may go to endotoxic shock, and if not treated well in time, and depending upon the condition of the animal, how it reacts or what is the status of animal's immune system, so this endotoxic shock may lead to death of the animal. So there are majorly 4 important bacterial species which may be responsible, which may cause puerperal metritis. These are Actinomyces pyogenes, Fusobacterium necrophorum, Bacteroides melanogenicus, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So now coming to the symptoms of the metritis, because one thing happens, this infection occurs, and how will you suspect or how will you diagnose that this animal has developed metritis. So there will always be elevated temperature, and sometimes it is subnormal temperature. Generally, very initially, when pyremia occurs, so that time the animal develops pyrexia, and later on the temperature becomes subnormal because of the toxemia which the animal develops. So there will be fast but weak pulse. Obviously, there will be rapid respiration. Animal will be anorectic, and because of this pyremia and toxemia, moderate to severe dehydration will be there. And one important feature, the animal will develop diarrhea, which is called toxemia induced diarrhea. And there will be swelling and congestion of vulva and vagina. Although it is not advised to
Ma'am.
go for
मैम
per vagina in Hanji.
मैम वो अगर क्या कहते हैं डिहाइड्रेशन है, मतलब डायरिया होगा तभी डिहाइड्रेशन होगा, अगर डायरिया का सिम्टम ना भी है तो भी डिहाइड्रेशन होगा इस केस में?
जी, बिना डायरिया के भी डिहाइड्रेशन होगी.
यस मैम.
ठीक है. And there will be swelling of the cotyledons, and fetal membranes will be firmly attached with the cotyledons, because generally this metritis develops as a sequel to the atrophy. And also uterus contains large volumes of toxic fetid reddish colored serous exudate with degenerating fetal membranes. So it will be smelly, foul smelling, and this fluid is discharged out of the vagina with expulsive straining. So the animal will strain a lot, and there will be production and this expulsion of very peculiar reddish colored fetid discharge, which contains bacterial toxins as well. So many animals develop mastitis as well, especially if the animal is recumbent and there is hypocalcemia. So generally, metritis-mastitis complex is a very common situation in case of postpartum animals, because at this time, the bacteria which are the causative agent for metritis, they are generally responsible for causing mastitis as well. So once they gain entry into the uterus, they cause mastitis as well. So this infection or metritis needs to be differentially diagnosed from other similar symptoms bearing diseases, which are one is metabolic hypocalcemia, because when hypocalcemia will be there, animal will be recumbent, animal will be anorectic, weak, and or there is ruptured uterus. Sometimes the case is delayed if there is dystocia and the case is delayed, so somehow the uterus gets ruptured. But if the uterus is ruptured, there will be peritonitis as well. So you have to take care of the things, and then you need to make one differential diagnosis. So sometimes there can be a chance that if it was a case of twin pregnancy and one of the fetuses gets expelled out, the other remains inside, and somehow it gets missed. And if the owner or the whosoever the person is dealing with the case, it doesn't he or she doesn't give a thought to it, so if the fetus is retained, then also similar symptoms will appear. And if there is diffuse peritonitis or acute toxic mastitis and salmonellosis, क्योंकि salmonellosis में भी diarrhea भी होगा. So now coming to the treatment part, obviously for treating this metritis, it requires good nursing and vigorous medication, because it is an emergency condition kind of thing. So the animal should be provided with comfortable bedding, because if it becomes recumbent, so there should be comfortable bedding so as to avoid or prevent the development of bed sores or pressure sores. And the premises should be clean and warm so as to keep the body temperature of the animal at optimum level. because the temperature will be initially there will be pyrexia, and later on the temperature of the body becomes subnormal. So because the animal is dehydrated, so fluid therapy is a must to stabilize the animal. And also because the animal will be having this inflammatory condition, so the best is to give flunixin meglumine at the specified dose rate. And why it is drug of choice in this particular case? Because it has anti-endotoxic effects. So endotoxemia is already developing inside the uterus and in the body. So to avoid that further, flunixin meglumine yields very good results. So antibiotic therapy is a must because severe infection is there, and also pyrexia is there. So regarding this choice of antibiotic, different people have different opinion. But one thing is very clear, that this intrauterine antibiotics, they don't work in this particular case. So parenteral antibiotics should be given only. And some people say that ceftiofur at the specified dose rate, it works very well. And some people have a choice for oxytetracycline, and oxytetracycline can be a drug of choice in this case. Why? Because oxytetracycline otherwise also has a property of controlling pyrexia, and because oxytetracycline की large doses जरूरी होंगी इस case में, so that high dose can be given by IV route very easily. So for expulsion of all the debris that is collected inside the uterus, or for, you can say, evacuating the uterus of this debris and retained fetal membranes and the toxins and this fluid, whatever is being produced inside. So oxytocin can be given to expel that. But if oxytocin has to be given, it should be given within 72 hours of the parturition. अगर 3 दिन हो चुके हैं parturition हुए and the case comes to you and you have to treat, so giving oxytocin injection won't be useful. And because the animal is hypocalcemic, so calcium therapy should be given to the animal. Estrogens are totally contraindicated as they increase the blood flow to the uterus, and already there are toxins produced, so it will further aid absorption of endotoxins from the uterus in the body. So it will do nothing but worsen the situation. And retained fetal membranes, otherwise also manual removal is not advised, but in this particular case it should not be tried at all. So once the animal becomes stable after fluid therapy, uterine lavage can be done. But very large volumes of fluid should not be infused into the uterus, as the uterus at this particular time during metritis, it is very friable, and infusion of large volumes of fluid into the uterus may lead to uterine rupture, and then the condition will be worsened. So the response to treatment can be estimated based on resumption of appetite. Obviously, the animal will regain its appetite once it starts feeling better. Unless until the animal feels better, it won't start taking feed, and the diarrhea will be ceased. So जो बहुत ही fetid, foul smelling discharge present था, it will start turning into less fetid, and thick vaginal discharge will be there instead of reddish colored liquid discharge. And but the recovered cases, they show mucopurulent discharge later on and develop chronic endometritis, which can be treated separately. But otherwise, if the condition is quite worsened, so the prognosis is grave. That's all for the lecture. So if you have any queries, I'll be taking, just listen to me first. I am having just 8 or 9 minutes for this session now, because I have to go somewhere and I have to leave. Okay, so quickly you can ask any specific question.
यस मैम, यस मैम।
मैम अभी जो ट्रीटमेंट बताया तो ये
Whosoever is speaking,
तीनों
I
का
am not able to understand.